Hello and welcome to Twisted Britain, a podcast on true crime in Britain with a sprinkling of the weird and the macabre. And your hosts are me, Bob Dale.
And me, Nadine. We're a couple of friends who met in the pub and developed a friendship based on our mutual love of booze, podcasts and pub quizzes. We met in the Settlin in Stirling, and that's where we record.
Each week we'll both tell a story of something twisted. One long one and one short one. And we'll decide who goes first.
Based on the flip of a coin.
Now you would think after 26 times of doing that, I wouldn't go to jump in halfway through you were talking, but I still don't know how to do this.
I think that's just your personality rather than anything else.
Thanks very much. Very kind of you. You alright?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Getting ready to go away on Friday.
Yeah,
which
nice.
Is like 2 weeks ago now,
Yeah,
technically.
technically.
No, I get confused as to when we're recording for what, but you know.
It's fine.
Write it down, we'll be alright. We're having a bit of an exciting week as Twisted Britain hosts.
Are we?
We have tickets to go and see a show.
Yes, we do. I'm so excited.
We're off to see Last Podcast on the Left in Edinburgh.
Which is arguably the podcast that we first talked about to each other and when we started bonding over podcasts, perhaps.
Have we bonded?
I think I told you to listen to Last Podcast on the Left.
Yeah, because I think I was just listening to, I don't know what I was listening to before that, to be honest.
Shit.
That's hundreds and hundreds of hours of podcasts ago. But yeah, so we're going to go and have a wee Twisted Britain date night.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be good fun.
It's going to be amazing.
However, we do need to wait till September.
Well, it'll be worth the wait, I'm sure.
Fine. Let's see if we're still pals by then.
I'll still go, even if we're not.
Have you enjoyed your birthday weekend?
I have done, thank you. And thanks to everybody who wished me a happy birthday over the course of the weekend. I spent most of it drunk, as promised.
Were you drunk?
No. Yeah, it was good, thanks. It was really good.
It was a good night in the Settle Inn. I had a lot of fun. That is the most busy I've ever seen that place.
It was so busy. And I'd like to take credit and say everybody was there for my birthday, but they most definitely weren't.
I didn't know that Stirling had such a heavily populated Rastafarian scene.
They love the reggae up there.
Mental.
I know. It was good though, huh?
It was great. I loved it. I won't be back. Not to the Settle. I'll be back there. Yeah, so how's your research gone this week?
It's been okay, thank you. Found my story by, once again, smashing random words together in the Google search bar and finding a story out of it. How has yours been?
Good, yeah. I said to you the other day, we were supposed to record you yesterday.
Yep.
But I wasn't quite ready, which is not like, it's usually the other way around. But just, Rosalind's in the show this week and I've got all my stuff packing and all that. I've just been slightly mental. So I think I've done all right. I'm
sure it's fine.
You can tell me at the end. I'd thought of something else to say there, but I can't remember what it is. Actually, the news of Dr. Evil.
Yes, well, we'll touch on it briefly just now, but be rest assured I'm going to revisit it and give some proper facts because I've come across some quite interesting things. But yes, unfortunately, Mr. Brendan McCarthy from my last episode about Dr. Evil, the body modification.
2 episodes ago.
Oh shit. Oh my god, time flies. 2 episodes ago. No. Yes.
Yeah,
oh my god.
Yeah.
2 episodes ago, Mr. Brendan McCarthy has been sentenced on the 21st of March to 40 months in prison, which I think is atrocious.
Yeah, I think it's a long sentence. I think they're obviously trying to make an example of him.
100%.
But like you say, there were some interesting bits and pieces. I think we'll maybe...
I'm going to revisit it in the next episode. Episode 23. You will hear some more.
We shall leave it till then. But if you want to catch up on what actually happened, there was a reasonably decent article on the BBC News website.
Yeah, there's a few going around.
Other than that, just Google Dr. Evil, and we will not be the top hit anymore.
Oh no, I don't think we ever were.
No. Yeah. So, should we just crack on?
Shall we?
Let's go for it.
Okay, flip that 1 penny.
1p.
I'm gonna say tails. You go.
Tails. It is.
Oof.
I had to check that because it's an odd coin. So. That's not my notes, hang on. I was reading last week's, just never mind. Like I said to you just beforehand, this I found probably the best sentence I've ever read on information about true crime story.
I'm excited about this.
It might even top your story of going to the dungeons, but never mind. So this is the story of the Lambeth poisoner.
No, don't know this.
So it's Dr. Thomas Neil Cream. Now,
Cream?
Cream, yes, Dr. Cream. I'm going to call him Cream throughout whole of this and see how
I'm
many
sorry,
times you laughed.
are we back at the porn episode, or...
I think we seem to just be bouncing around it, to be honest. I think you've impregnated our brains. So
at least
Thomas
you didn't go with
Neil-
penetrated.
Yeah, I really struggled with what to go for there, but never mind. So Thomas Neil Cream was born on the 27th of May, 1950 in Glasgow. His family moved to Quebec in Canada when he was about 3 years old, and he grew up in Canada and went to McGill University in Montreal, where he studied for his doctorate and graduated in 1876. His thesis topic had been the effects of chloroform.
Okay.
It's a great start.
Is this a bit of a foreshadowing going on?
He is a poisoner.
Excellent, yes.
He was hanged in November of 1892 at Newgate Prison, with his last words reportedly being, "I'm Jack the..." But we'll come back to that in a minute.
Lad. Bye.
Yeah, I'm Jack the Lad. See, I'm off. We'll come back to that confession
Right.
later on, and whether it's just a total load of shite or not. But
Okay.
I have my opinions. I'll before. In fact, you know what? Before I finish my last bit, I'm going to ask you what you think.
Okay.
Just based on this.
Okay.
So back to Canada, where he has studied as a doctor, and this is the story of how he ends up on that rope. Around the same time as finishing his qualification in Canada, he got engaged to his girlfriend Flora Brooks. With her falling pregnant and not wanting to keep the baby, Dr. Cream performed an abortion on her himself.
Jesus.
It didn't go particularly well, and Flora ended up very, very ill and was bedridden. She sadly died about a year later, reportedly of consumption, which is tuberculosis.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of speculation as to whether it had actually been because of the complications of the abortion. I mean, he was a really wonderful husband that while she was lying in her deathbed, he buggered off to London to do some extra postgraduate training at St. Thomas's Hospital. St. Thomas's Hospital School, sorry.
Right.
Where he did achieve extra qualifications before returning to Ontario to practice his trade, at which point his wife had died.
Jeez. Okay.
Lovely human being, this man. In the May of 1879, one of Cream's patients, Kate Gardner, was found dead in a shed near to the practice offices, and she was stinking of chloroform when they found her.
God.
The cause of death was stated as chloroform poisoning. She was pregnant at the time, but when questioned by the police, Dr. Cream stated that she'd come to him for an abortion, which seems to be what he did.
Right.
He became that kind of illegal abortionist man. Yeah.
Official title.
Working pretty much solely with prostitutes. He managed to persuade the coroner in this case that he hadn't done anything other than try and help the girl, and he narrowly escaped at this point. As soon as he was freed from interviewing, he fucked off over the border to the States.
Right.
This time he set up shop in Chicago, again in the red light area of Chicago, and became the kind of local doctor who would perform abortions on women of the night. It was illegal in Chicago at the same time, so he wasn't advertising he was doing it, but he was known as the guy to go to.
Right.
It didn't take very long for strange circumstances to emerge around him again. In 1880, in the August, the body of Mary Ann Faulkner was found, and he'd recently operated on her, and so he was arrested again, but I managed to escape prosecution as there wasn't any evidence of actual wrongdoing. April 1881, and Alice Montgomery was found dead of strychnine poisoning.
So wait, what did the last one die of?
As far as I can remember, I haven't written it down, but I'm pretty sure it was he'd performed an abortion on her, and due to complications, she died.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like the one before where she was found in a shed and was chloroform.
No,
it's
absolutely.
just that she just died after the abortion,
and it was a bit of an odd circumstance because he obviously shouldn't have been performing the abortion anyway.
Right. Okay.
So, like I say, Alice Montgomery was found in April of 1881, and she was found dead of strychnine poisoning. She was one of Cream's patients as well, and had had an abortion by him as well. She was ruled as murdered, but remained unsolved because they couldn't tie it to him. However, and actually, it's never been tied to anybody. So that the death of Alice Montgomery has been written down as she's been murdered, because
Right.
you don't take strychnine for any particular reason. But they haven't attributed anybody to her death.
Okay.
Based on what I'm going to tell you in the next wee bit, and the time period and the location of where she was found, it's pretty bloody obvious in hindsight that it was him, but we're 140 years later. So
Yeah.
So Cream spent some time, obviously when he wasn't aborting prostitutes' babies, trying to develop an elixir that would combat epilepsy. So he obviously was a doctor.
Yeah.
So he managed to come up with this kind of elixir that he swore would treat and cure epilepsy. I'm pretty sure that's...
I don't think anything treat.
I think things treat it, yeah. I mean, CBD oil's one of the big ones.
Yeah, well, fair.
Um,
I think you can take stuff that makes it more manageable.
So he's basically selling this as a cure.
Yeah, I don't think that exists.
Kind of snake oil type thing, isn't it?
Right.
And he gathered quite a following of people who were really quite dedicated to this treatment that he'd come up with. One of the guys who would regularly use the treatment was a guy called Daniel Stott. Now, Daniel would send his wife, Julia, to pick up the drug for him to take it home so that he could take it. However, it didn't take long for Cream and Julia to become involved, and she became his mistress.
Right.
Cream had decided that he wanted to get rid of the husband, whether it had been because he'd found out about the relationship or whether it was just a mad case of jealousy or whatever, don't know. But what I do know is that he laced some of the pills that he was giving to Julia to take to Daniel with strychnine. Now, the death was registered as an extreme epileptic fit, and that would have been fine. Cream would have got away with it if he hadn't been a greedy idiot.
Right.
He wrote to the coroner telling him that the real cause of the murder was an error made by the pharmacist that fulfilled the prescription, and that he had died of strychnine poisoning. He requested an exhumation of the body to test it, and the coroner kind of originally ignored this request, but it was overturned, and the body was exhumed. And the contents of his stomach was studied and found to contain 3 times as much strychnine as it would require to kill him. The drugs taken from the... Now, you're not going to like this. The drugs taken from his stomach were tested on a dog,
Yeah, not a fan.
and the dog died within minutes.
I bet it did.
Yeah, well, it killed a man, so it'll kill a dog.
It'll kill a dog, yeah. That's fucking stupid, Dr. Cream. Like, what's the point in that? Like, the problem is literally dead and buried, and you want to dig it up and have it tested when it's like being like, oh, he died in an epileptic fit.
So I said he was a greedy idiot, not just an idiot.
Oh, okay.
So him and Julia tried to sue the pharmacist.
Oh my god.
Kind of backfired, however, when Dr. Cream was arrested and not the pharmacist.
Wow.
And he was charged with the murder of Daniel Stott.
Imagine that.
In 1881, he was sentenced to life in jail in Chicago, which is usually the end of our stories,
Normally.
especially considering he's not done anything in the UK yet.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even thought.
So 10 years later, however, in 1891, with a little bit of a help from his brother pleading and some money changing hands, shall we say, he was released on good behaviour,
My god.
which is just fucking mental.
That's our favourite. Everybody loves that one.
So yeah, released on good behaviour after 10 years of a life sentence, having killed a man, proven killed a man, and killed another 2 women, whether he was charged with them or not. But, you know, he's 3 in at this point. 10 years, you're out. During his time in jail, you're looking at me, I love the look in your face right now.
Just mad.
It gets worse. So during his time in jail, his father had passed away, and he'd been left a good sum of money, around about £16,000 in the 1890s. I haven't done the math.
Don't bother, we all know it's massive.
It's a mad amount of money. So on his release from jail in Chicago, he travelled back up to Canada to collect his inheritance and jumped on a boat to England. He arrived in England on the 1st of October and moved to Lambeth in London, which was well known at the time for its poverty and its ladies of pleasure.
Well, that sounds like Dr. Cream's bag.
So exactly, you can tell the rehabilitation in jail had definitely worked.
Done him wonders.
Because 12 days later, Cream met
my-
Nellie Donworth, a 19-year-old prostitute who accepted a drink from Cream. 3 days later, she died of...
Was it strychnine poisoning?
It was strychnine
Oh
poisoning.
my god.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's he getting strychnine from all the time? Oh, okay.
Cream again wrote to the coroner. This time he asked for £300,000 in exchange for the murderer. For the name of the murderer, sorry. Mm-hmm. He also wrote to Frederick Smith, who was the founder of W.H. Smith.
Oh my god.
Trying to extort money from him by saying, if you don't send me money, I'll tell everyone you're the murderer.
Big Fred obviously couldn't give a fuck. Who are you talking to?
Big W.H. Smith went, no.
Who the fuck you talking to?
So he didn't get his 300 grand or his bucket load of stationery.
Tell you what, that'd only buy you a book of stamps from fucking Smith's these days.
Ooh, right.
So expensive in there for like a pencil.
Well, there goes that possible sponsor.
So, Smith's, though, I do still shop on you, so...
A week later, on the 20th of October, Cream met Matilda Clover, another prostitute, and again, the next day, she's found dead, but this one's chalked up as an alcohol-related death. But smart Dr. Cream wrote another letter, this time to Dr. William Broadbent. Basically, he said to him, Dr. Broadbent, I know you're responsible for Matilda's death, and if you don't send me money, I'll tell the police.
This guy's off his fucking rocker. This makes no sense. You're just like writing to random rich people being like, this was you and I'm going to tell people.
Yep.
What a foolproof plan.
So Dr. Broadbent, however, being a smart doctor, just sent a letter to Scotland Yard and went, no.
This total psycho's written me a letter.
Pretty much. I think you should probably read this. Some whack job's trying to frame me for murder. I don't even know Matilda. So there's a small break here in the proceedings.
Okay.
There was no killings happened from October there, because from what I understand, he travelled back to Canada for a while.
Okay.
And one of the sources I said, it's because he was there to collect a whole load of strychnine tablets.
Oh.
And brought them back to the UK.
Oh, were they on back order or something?
I don't know, but one of the sources I read was 500 strychnine tablets he picked up, which I don't know how big a tablet is, but I guess that's a lot.
I think that's quite... I don't know how many it would take to kill you, but I bet it's not 500.
Not 500 is my guess.
Jesus.
So back in the UK, on the 2nd of April next year, not next year, whilst in the company of Lou Harvey, and yet again another prostitute, who he'd met during the day and said, let's go for dinner in the theatre.
That sounds quite nice, actually.
It's what you do with prostitutes, isn't it?
I wouldn't know. Is it?
It's probably what I'd end up doing. Come on, let's go for a nice dinner.
Go and see Wicked or something good.
I do like... I've got my Book of Mormon top
I
on
know,
today.
I should have gone for that one.
However, at the end of the evening, Cream, being a doctor, said, here's a couple of pills to help with your pale complexion.
Ouch, rude.
Real good compliment there. Lou, however, was a bit of a streetwise prostitute, shall we say. Was a bit wary of him and didn't like it, so when he wasn't looking, she just threw the pills in the Thames.
Good job, Lou.
This would prove to be a rather good idea. April 11th, so a week later, he doesn't leave a lot of time between these, other than, the trip home. Cream meets another couple of prostitutes, two this time, Alice March and Emma Shrivel, 18 and 21-year-old, and went back to their flat with them. Which, by all accounts, seems to have been what they did. They didn't use hotel rooms. They went back to their houses. Which I was a bit surprised at, but
I think back then that's the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I got from all the reading, was that the use of the hotel would obviously have cost money.
Yeah, so why are you going to do that?
But I find it a bit odd that they'd go back to their houses. But at the same time, it was only 3 years after all the Jack the Ripper stuff, so they wouldn't want to be out in the streets.
Well, yeah, fair.
They'd gone back to their flat, and after their paid session, he offered them a bottle of Guinness each.
Okay.
Which is how you tip a prostitute. You take them to the theatre, then give them some Guinness.
I'd take a bottle of whatever as a tip, to be honest.
I know you After they'd started to drink it, he made his excuses and left before the strychnine that he dropped into the Guinness had started to take effect, and the two women were left behind to die in agony over quite a long period of time.
I was just about to ask, actually, did you look into what a strychnine death is like?
Horrible. Really, like, it's a long, painful agony of a death. It's not your poison you drop.
Yeah.
It kills your organs slowly.
Oh, God.
It's not a nice way to go at all. Not that I can't think of a particularly nice way to go, but this is one of the really not nice ones.
Let's put it on the list of ways Nadine doesn't want to die.
Well, it's getting quite a long list, it turns out. Two stories an episode, so we're up to at least 52 ways you don't want to die.
Around about that, yeah.
So, like I said, it's only 3 years after Jack. And so London is mad buzzing with the news that of prostitutes being murdered again
Yeah, it's happening
on the
again.
streets. However, Cream had made quite a lot of mistakes and had managed to draw the attention of the police. Obviously, there was the letters to Frederick Smith, there was the letter to the doctor, and there was Lou Harvey, who would come back into the frame in a bit. I was starting to be dubbed in the media as the Lambeth poisoner
Right.
at this point. You know, the kind of the rags were starting to put headlines up and stuff like that, and I get the impression he would have probably liked that. You know, that renowned. I don't know what word I'm looking for. The
Fame?
yeah, I suppose it is just fame, isn't it?
It's just like credit, I suppose.
Yeah. So anyway, I've said before, Cream, in my opinion, wasn't a particularly smart man. And this is the bit that I would say, the writing of the letters, not smart. The showing your friend, who is a retired cop from New York City, who's also trying to get a job in Scotland Yard, and showing him all the murder scenes, and recounting, let's go with a few too many details about each of the murders, is not the best of things.
It is an odd tour to be taken on by your friend.
What's also odd is that when you start recounting details of the murder of Lou Harvey,
Who isn't dead.
who didn't die. Now, like I say, this guy John Hayes, who is a retired cop from New York, had taken an interest into the case. He's trying to get a job at Scotland Yard as a detective and stuff. So a case like that would obviously that'd be right up his
It's going
alley.
to pique your interest.
It would do. And he didn't remember any reports in any of the things he'd read about the murder of Lou Harvey.
Fucking idiot.
So, armed with all this information, Hayes went straight to Scotland Yard and spoke to an inspector there that was trying to help him get a job, and went, I've got all this information. Like, I think I know who it is.
Oh my god.
So,
That's one way to get a job.
yeah, here, look, I've done your job for you.
Hello, I cracked the case.
Just day one, nailed it.
Boom. Day -1.
And from what I read, it was the two of them were having like drinks and supper together, and he went, do you want me to go and show you where all those murders happened? And he went, sure thing, Dr. Cream, let's go. Yeah.
Love it. I love an evening walk. Let's go for this lovely stroll, see these fantastic sights. Oh my god.
So yeah, the Scotland Yard at this point put Cream under surveillance.
As you would.
Started following him everywhere, started to try and gather a whole lot of information. They got loads of descriptions from different prostitutes of a man that had approached them that had that fit the description of Dr. Cream. And at this point, actually, the prostitutes were very, very helpful for the police because they were all scared of another Jack the Ripper. So they were quite happily going to the police to say, this is what this guy looks like. And enough of them had the same description of this weird guy that they had mounted up enough evidence to arrest him on the 3rd of June, 1892.
Nice.
Cream maintained his innocence throughout the whole court proceedings, none to do with me, until into the witness box steps Lou Harvey.
Oh, I bet that pissed him right off.
Visibly startled
Well, you would be.
was the quote I read. Pissed his pants would be probably the one I would go with. So she was there to give evidence about the doctor, about their evening, about the pills that he'd given her, about the fact that she'd thrown away, and that she had thought it was weird the whole way. So having heard that and the accounts of John Haynes as well, it took the jury only 12 minutes to find him guilty of 4 counts of murder, and he was sentenced to hang. So the speculation of him having killed his wife, Flora, originally as well, and at least 4 other women who died in his care. So although the official account is 4, it's probably somewhere near 10 at least.
Oh my God.
Plus Daniel Stott that he'd been arrested for before. So it's definitely, I would say definitely double figures.
Oh my God.
But officially 4 counts. He was hanged in the walls of Newgate Prison on the 15th of November, 1892, by which point, which I found out when I was reading, public hangings had stopped by then. So it was 1868, public hangings stopped. So everything was done behind kind of closed doors, behind the prison walls. So anything after 1868, you don't get that big crowds turning up anymore. Yeah. So what I find weird about all this is any serial killer you usually look into does it for that feeling of power, that elevation of who I am, that kind of God feel almost. But he left all these people to die without him there.
Yeah, but I think it's like enough to know that they are dying.
But is it though? Because if it's that power thing, you would think he would check the newspapers to see how he was being written about.
I suppose.
And then he would know Lou Harvey hadn't died if he hadn't found a report of it. So I just find it a struggle that I don't understand his motive at all.
Yeah.
The only thing, I mean, there's some speculation that he was suffering with syphilis quite badly. And as we've talked about before, syphilis can cause hallucinations and send you a bit stir crazy.
Yeah, I forgot about
so
that.
maybe he was just batshit crazy because of the syphilis. I don't know. Maybe he was a horrible person. Maybe he just got off on the thought of the people just writhing around in agony without him there.
Yeah, he might have done.
I mean, there was...
Because there is some... I can't think of anybody, but there is, like, killers that kill people, but they're, like, it's, like, cowardly. Like, you might want to kill people, but you're, like, not fucking man enough to watch it happen, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, there is I suppose there is the thought that he was trying to do it for money. Like, he was trying to extort all these people. Writing the...
At the same time, though, how do we know that he walked away from it? How do we know he didn't stand and watch? How do you know?
I don't I'm just...
Do you know what I mean? Because, like, they all died.
Yeah.
And, like, if he was like, no, I didn't do it, like,
I suppose
the
the
last
thing
thing
is,
you're going to do is be like, yeah, I stood there and fucking wanked over it or something.
Well, I suppose it comes back
Sorry to be crude.
We're used to it. I say we as a collective. I suppose it comes back to Lou Harvey again. He walked away from her, having given her the pills. Whereas he would have made, he'd have watched her take them. If he was wanting to get his jollies off to that. I don't know. So I find almost a lack of motive just really odd here. So as I said earlier at the very beginning, his reported last words were, "I am Jack the..." Dead. So James Billington was the executioner charged with hanging Dr. Cream. And he said in his later life, not straight away, that he heard Thomas Neil Cream's last word as he fell through the trapdoor to be, "I am Jack the..." None of the police officers at the scene heard this.
Right.
And there's a few theories as to what happened here. And this will probably be the closest I ever get to covering Jack the Ripper. So I've given you my theories.
Oh, I'm excited.
Right. So, to me, the first and most obvious one is that James Billington didn't hear fuck all.
Yep.
He was trying to make a name for himself.
Fair.
I was the executioner that hung Jack the Ripper.
Boom.
Right? That, to me, that's my number one theory.
I like that theory. That's quite likely.
The other one is Dr. Cream was trying to stop the execution.
Oh, I'm Jack the Ripper. You can't hang me. Because then they'd be like, fuck, we need to go to trial again.
Exactly. We need to take you away. We need to start interviewing you. We need to look into this. But It can't.
Left it a bit late there.
Yeah, as you step through the trapdoor. So we addressed a few of the facts here. Dr. Cream was in jail in Chicago at the time of all the Jack the Ripper murders.
Full stop. Done.
Not quite full stop. So there's a lot of speculation that the prison system in America was incredibly corrupt at the time. In fact, I'm going to go as far to say as the prison system in America was incredibly corrupt at the time.
Okay.
He could have bribed his way out of jail and then just gone back when he needed to. There are stories of doppelgangers being used.
Oof.
You go and serve my time for me, and I'll pay you when you get out.
Right.
And somebody would take his place in jail, and then he could possibly be in London ripping it up. I mean, I don't buy any of it at all.
No.
I don't buy this theory.
I'm not sold on this.
He was a poisoner. All of his murders...
He wasn't hands-on at all. Hands off.
That's exactly what I was going to say, yeah. He poisoned people and walked away. He didn't watch the women die. He killed a man as well, which Jack didn't do.
Well, as far as we know.
As far as we know. And Jack surgically opened up these women.
Yeah, that's so hands-on.
It's the most hands-on.
I forgot about the surgical aspect of Jack the Ripper.
And I just don't see him doing that at all.
At the same time, though, abortions,
He was a surgeon, but it doesn't fit with anything else in his life. I'm not saying he wasn't Jack the Ripper. In fact, I am. I'm saying he wasn't Jack the Ripper, but he is on that massive suspects list because he was killing prostitutes. He was in London, not at the right time, which to me is the big thing.
Yeah.
My favourite
favorite
thing is that actually James Billington did hear him say something. But he didn't hear him say, "I'm Jack the." He heard him saying, "I'm ejaculating." And that is a genuine written source.
What? Is that true?
I'm not saying he did say that. That's what I'd like to believe.
Oh, that's the last theory. I see.
The last theory is he didn't hear him say that. That Dr. Cream had actually lost control of his body, and as he fell through the trapdoor, he screamed,
I'm ejaculating.
Ejaculating. In fact, not screamed, whispered it in James Billington's ears.
I'm ejaculating.
Because none of the policemen have ever heard anything.
My God. I hope that one's, maybe that one's the truest.
So my theory is...
The first one that he was trying to be famous for.
James Billington wanted to be the executioner that hung Jack.
Who didn't want to be, even.
Indeed. And that he was in jail at the time. It couldn't have been him.
No, well, yeah. And it's not the fact that he was, meant to be in a London prison. He was meant to be in a prison in Canada.
No, in Chicago.
Fuck. Well, whatever. Still,
other side of the water, anyway.
Yeah, and it's not like it was... It's not like... It's still not easy to, it's not like an over, a couple of hour flight, is it? You can't just pop over.
Not in the 1890s, no. Late 1880s.
You'd have to get a ship over, wouldn't you?
Yes, you would. You're not swimming it.
I meant more planes weren't around then, were they?
You'd have to get a ship. Oh my God.
That would have taken ages.
It wouldn't even be one of those cruise liners. There'd be no theatre shows, no buffets.
There might have been a theatre show.
There might have been a theatre show. He'd have loved it. He'd have taken his prostitutes with him.
My God, that was great.
That's the...
I've never heard of him.
The story of the Lambeth poisoner.
Nice.
I hadn't heard of him before either. And I suppose it's one of these things, the late 1800s in London would have been a pretty grim place.
Oh, yeah.
And he's on that massive list of Jack the Ripper suspects. There's whole bits and pieces about his handwriting. Did he write the letters that were supposed to have been Jack? Because actually, when you compare his handwriting,
I don't even think those letters were Jack the Ripper. They're all two.
That's what they're saying. He was a letter writer, so was it him? There's a whole load of speculation which I didn't get into because you start just walking down an endless track at that point.
I'm pretty sure I could find a way of making you sound like Jack the Ripper.
I'm not sure. I'm not a very good surgeon. Last time I checked.
I don't know, don't be so hard on yourself.
However, I would say most wonderful looking gentleman I've covered.
Oh, give us a swatch.
Excellent use of the top hat.
Ooh. I always think, that kind of time period, if I think of London, that time frame, I always think of, Sweeney Todd, That That's always where my brain goes straight to, is like, woof, rough. Here we go. Oh.
Wonderful mustache.
He looks great.
Yeah. That's why I stopped on this story, because I was just looking down a list of serial killers, as you do. My lunch breaks at work are not your average one.
Same.
And I stopped on a lovely top-hatted man with a mustache, and here we are.
He does look fabulous. That's definitely the photo we're going to use this week.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And on that wonderful note, I wanted to stop with "I am ejaculating" and just, go for a beer, but it's not the last words. So
you still can.
I am ejaculating.
Everybody has a story, and not all of those stories are clear black and white issues, even when we think they are. We wonder, how did this happen? Or what is that like? Or what happens next? Are you sure you really want to know? This is Ignorance Was Bliss at IWB Podcast.
That's us back, and hopefully yours is less sordid ending this time.
Not so sordid, no.
Good. I'm excited about this. You've said literally nothing about it, which I don't know if it's a good thing. But we'll wait and see.
Well, this one, I just Googled random phrases, as per usual. UK murder, random word.
Not murdered by a ghost this time, then.
Not this time. This time I Googled UK murder fashion.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, because I thought...
I murder in fashion every day.
I don't know why. I was just trying to think of something different that I probably wouldn't come across normally.
We should have a look at the end of this, a year of Twisted Britain and go, see what our search history is, UK murder, then what, and just make a list of all the words. I bet it's weird.
And then you have to guess which story we told that matches up with the search. Excellent.
I don't think I'll even get that right.
Me neither. Okay, should we just batter in?
So, fashion murder.
Fashion murder.
Yeah, excited.
And this, again, in classic Nadine style, is modern day.
Yeah, it says both of us kicking in our sweaters and jeans. Let's go with fashion.
Let's do it. So, my story this week is the story of a young man called Harry Uzoka. So, Harry Uzoka, originally from Nigeria, was 25 when he was stabbed to death in broad daylight outside his home in Shepherd's Bush, London, on the 11th of January of last year, which was 2018.
Right.
Harry was signed with London's premier model management agency at the time and had recently landed a film role. He was at the beginning of what seemed to be a successful career and was modelling internationally for companies such as GQ, Mercedes and Zara. So he's pretty successful career.
Big Biscuits, that's,
Big Biscuits?
Yeah, I don't know why I said biscuits. There you go. He's Big Biscuits.
Big Biscuits. He included amongst his friends the extremely successful model Jordan Dunn, who is now currently 28. I hadn't heard of her either, but then I googled her and she's a big biscuit.
Okay.
Currently 28, who was discovered working in a Primark in 2006 and was the first black model to walk for Prada in over a decade by 2008. So within 2 years of her being found, she was making big waves.
Literally Primark to Prada.
Primark to Prada, baby.
That's not bad, is it?
Yeah, I know. Big biscuits. So, Harry was stabbed by a fellow model, George Coe, from Camden, North London, who was just 24 years old at the time. In many of the references I read, Coe is called a copycat and rival, and is accused of being obsessed with Harry. Apparently, Coe often compared himself to Harry, saying that he looked like him and even tried to imitate his style of dress. Coe even went as far as contacting some of Harry's Instagram friends and sending them abuse and stuff. He was just weirdly, I don't know, just
obsessed.
Leave him alone, yeah. According to some sources, Harry was becoming increasingly annoyed by Coe and this behaviour, which is understandable.
Yeah, fair enough. So he was being online stalked.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just odd. The relationship between Harry and Coe really broke down when Coe bragged to another young model, an Anicetta Lafon, who was based in Paris at the time, that he had had sex with Harry's girlfriend.
Well, that stepped up a gear.
Right, I know. So, when giving evidence from behind a screen at Coe's trial at the Old Bailey, your fave,
Yep.
Anicetta said that Coe followed her on social media And when she was visiting London in December of 2017, he'd arranged for a taxi to pick her up from her hotel in Camden so she could stay the night at his, which I was like, whoa, weird. But then it seems to be a thing that these models do, because then later on she also stayed at Harry's flat and it like wasn't a big deal. I think they're just like all pals.
They're just like couch surfing.
Yeah, just like all stay together and like
Right. I suppose they're all probably going to the same place in the morning.
Well, probably, or
Saving a bus fare.
Don't know if they needed to save a bus fare. You're working for Zara Mercedes.
You're working for Prada. You're fine.
You're cool.
You're getting picked up.
So Anisetta testified in court that she was supposed to stay at his for one night, but didn't want anything to happen between them. They had drinks when she arrived, but soon Ko was trying to pressure her into kissing him and performing sexual acts on him. When she refused, Ko became agitated and then turned to harassing her and questioning her about Harry, who also followed her on social media. He accused Anisetta of having met Harry before and tried to impress her by declaring that he'd fucked his ex-girlfriend. Anisetta went on to say that she found Ko childish and had to really ask him to stop when he began showing her photos of Harry's girlfriend who he'd supposedly slept with. So he's like, oh, this is her, like, I slept with her, this is Harry's girlfriend, you know Harry, meh.
But
like,
it was just probably photos he'd found on Instagram and saved to his phone.
No, he's just like showing her this girl, like, this is the girl I fucked.
This guy was a nobody, but just wanted to be somebody.
Pretty much,
Right.
I think, yeah. Anisetta went on to stay with Harry on the 8th of January of 2018, which was only a few days before he died, because he died on the 11th.
Yep.
It was then that she told him what Ko had said about shagging his bird.
Right.
And he wasn't that surprised, really, by this news, because, like, he says stuff like this all the time.
This guy's a bullshitter.
Yeah, he's just full of
always
shit.
on it. Yeah.
She says that although he wasn't surprised, Harry was angry at Ko for what he'd said. And,
even if he knows for a fact that's not true.
Yeah, you're still going to be, like, stop mouthing off about me to people.
Up.
And Harry supposedly told Anisetta that he was going to go meet with him to fix him.
Oh, okay.
Which I believe is London slang or just young person slang for beat them up.
Did you just say young person slang?
I did.
You only turned 25. Calm down.
I'm in a whole new age bracket.
I thought you were saying, I'm in a home now.
No, I'm in a whole new age bracket. I'll say what I want. So the confrontation erupted over social media, and on the 11th of January, Harry received a message from Ko that said, "Where are you? I'll come there and we can fight. Bring your friends with you."
You bring my gang, I'll bring your gang.
You bring my gang and I'll bring yours.
I'll bring my gang, you bring your gang.
Let's switch gangs. Get real fucked up.
Well, he was switching girlfriends, why not?
Oh, well, might as well switch gangs too, I suppose. To which Harry replied, "Come Shepherd's Bush."
I mean, he wasn't elaborating
It's
anymore.
quite a large area, but
It's just, that's that.
come Shepherd's Bush.
Okay. Just wander around shouting,
Harry!
I'm here for my fight.
So Ko and two of his friends took a minicab to Harry's home, where they confronted Harry and his flatmate, Adrian Harper, who were each armed with dumbbell bars outside in the street.
Oh, fuck. Like,
Yeah.
That's an angry weapon.
Yeah, dumbbell bars, that's no
That's
joke.
like a blunt force trauma object. Like,
Oh yeah, it'll fuck you up.
yeah, that's, oh.
So that's Harry and his flatmate Adrian who were carrying them. CCTV footage picked up everything that happened and clearly shows that the confrontation happened in broad daylight near an area where children were playing at the time, which is sad.
That's, yeah, nobody needs to see that, let alone
Children.
Yeah.
So Ko was carrying 2 knives, which he claims he brought with him as he was frightened of Harry. And he'd also brought his 2 pals, Mercedes Takana and Jonathan Okigbo,
Nice.
who were also 24 at the time, and were each carrying, one was carrying a knife and one was carrying a machete.
Right? I mean, there's a distinction between big knife and machete there.
Yes. Yes.
Sword.
Yes, pretty much. When later giving evidence in court, Ko said, although Mercy had a machete, I don't know if it's Mercy, Merse, Mercy?
Mersey?
Okay, well, let's go with Mersey. I don't really want to call him Mercy when he's, like, been in a fight.
Yeah, no, Mersey, I think.
Okay. Ko said, although Mersey had a machete and I had 2 knives, it was Harry who was the aggressor. Adrian, who's Harry's flatmate...
I would argue they're all aggressors.
We're
turning up
meeting
the
for
weapons.
a scrap in the street. We're all aggressing
Come to
here.
Shepherd's Bush. Bring your machete.
It wasn't even come Shepherd's
Yeah,
Bush.
that's true, yeah. Even the number 2, like the cool
Nope.
kids. No?
Just
Okay.
come Shepherd's Bush.
How did he spell... Never mind.
Oh, I actually spelled it. Well,
How do you spell
quote,
come? C-O-U?
No, C-O-M-E, actually. But the text before, which was from Ko that said, where you, I'll come there, N, we can fight, bring you are friends with letter U. So he's gone from where you spelt correctly to friends with letter U.
Maybe he had a
Wildly
limit on his
swinging with his grammar.
data allowance.
Oh yeah, when you like get over 20 characters and it charges you a second text.
Like the 1990s.
This Nokia 3310.
Oh, yeah. I did have a 33.
We've digressed.
Slightly.
So, Ko is accusing Harry of being the aggressor. Adrian, who's Harry's flatmate, told the jury that they were just expecting a fist fight, but armed themselves with the poles like the dumbbell bars, as they knew that they were outnumbered. Which is kind of fair. Well, it's
Is
not
it?
fair. Well, I don't know. But like at the same time, if you're in your Shepherd's Bush flat, right, waiting for a scrap, and then these 3 boys jump out a minicab, and like one's got a machete, you'd be like, well, I'll take up dumbbell bar, I suppose.
I
Or
mean,
there's just 3 of them, you'd be like, we're gonna get fucked up here, mate.
I think in that scenario where they jump out the taxi wielding their machetes, yes, I would take something.
I think
I'm not sure I'm not sure that's how it went down.
I don't think it
Just
was,
like,
sorry.
Huzzah!
Just all holding their weapons aloft. So that's his story. Adrian says, look, we brought the dumbbell bars because we were outnumbered and we were frightened too, okay? Adrian also told the jury that had he known that there were knives involved or that they were going to use them, then they wouldn't have gone out to the street at all to fight.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I
Yeah.
wouldn't either. When the fight broke out, it was unclear to Adrian what exactly was happening, but he was chased by Okigbo up the road. Okigbo up the road. When he returned to the scene of the fight and saw his friend again, which is Harry simply said, "I've been stabbed," and then collapsed to the ground. Ko and his other friend, Takana, had in fact chased Harry, and Ko had then stabbed him in the heart. So one of the boys chased the flatmate away up the road, and
Yeah.
the other 2 chased Harry, and then stabbed him right in the
got
chest.
Quite a few thoughts running through my head right now. One being, that's horrible.
Yep.
The other being, this might be like, if this is male models fighting in the street, it might be one of the prettiest fights of all time.
Might it be? Turned real ugly though, Bob.
Turned real
ugly there.
Thanks for bringing us back.
You're very welcome. Harry would then die of a stab wound where he lay in the road outside his home. How's that for bringing it back?
We've nailed it. Wow.
Horrible, huh? Just died
like,
in the road.
right outside his house as well.
Yeah, just outside his Shepherd's Bush flat. Horrible.
Yeah.
At the end of last year, at the Old Bailey, the 3 young men were sentenced. Ko pleaded guilty to 2 charges of possessing a knife, but received a life sentence with a minimum of 25 years for murder. Takanda, of no fixed abode, denied possessing a machete on the 11th of January, and he also denied possessing a knife on the 25th of January, which I think was like a separate incident.
Okay.
But was convicted of the charges and was also found guilty of murder and jailed for at least 22 years. Okigbo, also from Camden, was cleared of the same offence but convicted of manslaughter and given a 14-year sentence. So they were all sentenced. So we've got Ko, who is like the main aggressor, the one who did the stabbing, life sentence with a minimum of 25. Takanda, who got done for possessing a machete and a knife, and murder as well, was given 22 years, and Okigbo was cleared of those offences but was convicted of manslaughter, 14 years.
So he was cleared of
He was cleared of like
of
carrying the
a
knives
weapon,
and
but
stuff.
he was charged with
Manslaughter.
basically having been there.
Well, he was part of it. He didn't
part of the,
didn't stop it from
Yeah,
happening.
okay,
Didn't help.
yeah.
That kind of thing.
I was going to say because it's quite there's quite a difference in the sentencing there.
Yeah.
When they were all
They're all part of
definitely
it.
they're all involved in it.
Oh yeah. Like if you get in a minicab with your 2 pals and you've
Who
got
are
knives
going
and
to go kill somebody,
machetes,
then yeah, you're a part of it.
you're part of it. The judge, Wendy Joseph QC, said that Harry had enjoyed helping others, including Ko. She described Ko's behaviour as swinging between excessive admiration and spite, which manifested itself in many ways. She went on to say that while the loss of any life was tragic, it was all the more so when a victim is so young, able and generous. She also described Harry as a young man who overcame his own difficulties to make a great success of his life and to be a remarkable role model for others. She said he had, with great talent, forged a successful international career as a male model. He was one of the first black British men to do so. The judge also highlighted the impact of the murder on the wider community, saying children were becoming afraid of going out and parents are thinking of buying their sons stab-proof vests.
Fuck, what world do we live in that's a scenario that you actually have to think out loud?
Every day on the radio, I'm not joking, every day on the my way into work just now, well, it feels like every day, there's like another stabbing in London, like young people, all the time. Like this morning, in fact, there was one on the radio, like another like 14-year-old stabbed. Mental.
Well, it's a massive issue that the entire country's facing at the moment. It's a huge political thing
100%.
About. Not that we'll ever talk politics in this podcast, but it is something that they're saying is one of the biggest issues in our society is knife crime.
Yeah.
Do you know how you fix that though? Not the knife crime, the hearing about it. Stop listening to the radio.
Podcasts all the way.
Literally, all I listen to is podcasts.
I know.
I have like 75 podcasts that I just queue up, and I can't make the queue any smaller.
I'm having a similar issue. Tarika J. Rattan of the Crown Prosecution Service said, "This was a senseless murder over petty jealousy. Our thoughts are with the family and friends of Harry Uzoka, and we hope that today's sentencing brings them a sense that justice has been done." So the grieving girlfriend, from the start of the story...
Of course, yeah.
Yep. Ruby Campbell, who was also a model, by the way, who was seemingly at the centre of this confrontation, addressed the death of Harry on social media after receiving multiple death threats. Ruby is an Australian model who had just spent Christmas with Harry in the Caribbean. She broke her silence after being subjected to online abuse and threats and shared a picture of herself with Harry on her Instagram page, beginning the caption with, "I'm not one to post personal things on Instagram, but this is necessary. Harry and I were happy." She says that Harry died because of a man with a jealous obsession. She went on to say he came to his house with his two friends, knives and intentions to kill. Harry and I had just come back from overseas in the Caribbean for Christmas. We came back just before the New Year with plans for our New Year together. Ruby said she was working in Sweden before returning to the devastating news in London about her boyfriend's death. She said they had spoken on the phone the night before about a weekend getaway they were planning and his recent movie audition. Miss Campbell also revealed that they both thought Coe's claims about sleeping with her were ridiculous. She even released a statement saying, "I have never met George and Harry was never friends with him. The whole thing seemed creepy." After her identity was revealed during the murder trial, Ruby said the press and social media twisted this whole situation to make her seem like the bad guy. She said, "I've never lost a person in my life, and I'm receiving multiple death threats and multiple social media accounts using a tragedy as clickbait. I've had a hard time this year grieving, and I am still grieving." And quite interestingly, she never actually did testify at the trial about like the situation.
Any reason why?
Not that I could see. It just like was a fact I came across that she didn't testify.
All right, okay.
So I think they just like thought, probably the trial just thought it'd be like inconsequential.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough.
Doesn't matter if he did or didn't sleep with her, does it?
No, you're right. Absolutely, it doesn't. Now that I think about it,
I think that's a total shame, though. Like this poor girl, like her boyfriend's just been stabbed to death in the street, and people are like attacking her and saying that's like her fault for being a slut and stuff. That's shocking.
Yeah, it's the internet.
Yeah, well, Josephine Jackson, who is Harry's mother, paid tribute to her beautiful boy in a victim impact statement at the court. She said her son's death was yet another senseless killing, and our lives changed forever when I got that phone call. His death has left a gaping hole, a void and crack in our family. The trauma has affected us emotionally and financially. He was an inspiration to all, a beautiful boy who will never be forgotten. We still find it difficult to believe he is actually gone.
Yeah, you're right. That was quite a tragic story.
Horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the thing I take from that is that the internet is not only a horrible place, but that obsession, because that's what it is. It's pure obsession.
Jealousy. Like they're both models. Harry's doing well. He's going all over the world. Got a gorgeous girlfriend and stuff. And this boy's just...
wants to be him.
Yeah.
And don't know, like maybe runs through his mind, the only way I can be him is to get rid of him, like that, almost that horrible.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, it's psychopathic, really, isn't it?
It was just like antagonizing him though over social media, and then they were like, do you know what, fuck it, let's just have a fight then, have it out.
Yeah, which wasn't the best option.
Terrible option.
Because the best option would have just been, here are the police.
Yeah. Leave me alone.
And he would have still been alive today.
Yeah. Horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really sad.
So young
like,
as well, 24.
Yeah, really young. Really horrible story, and like so many
25 actually, sorry.
So many things to think about there, like, you know, that you don't know how he's obviously been affected by the guy messaging him and harassing him, because he's responded to it.
Yeah.
And you don't know how much that takes out of somebody.
Yeah.
Really horrible.
Horrible, isn't it?
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Big downer on the night.
Yeah, a little bit.
Another modern one, though, for you?
Yeah, always.
Is that what we're doing now? You're just going to stick to this century and I'll go as far back as I can be bothered?
I don't know. Maybe I'll revisit some Murdered by Ghosts kind of stuff and that kind of era, because they are fun.
I think
I might have... Surely my one is the oldest one when I did my Pete bodies. They are old as fuck.
I can't beat that.
I think I'm winning.
Do you remember when we started this and we had a conversation off mic? Mm-hmm. Before right at the beginning of starting Twisted Britain, we said, what are we going to do if we turn up with the same story every week or 1 week? I just, the more that we do of this, I think the less likely that it's ever going to happen.
I know, it's weird.
Turns out two of us have twisted brains in different directions, shall we say. Anyway, I hope everybody has enjoyed listening to it again today, this evening, this afternoon. Mm-hmm.
Have a couple of things to shout out, I suppose. So once again, we're going to go see Last Podcast on the Left live, which we're psyched about. If you've not heard of them or listened to them,
what are you doing?
Do you live under a fucking rock?
If you're listening to us and not Last Podcast, A, thank you, and B, really?
What? So give them a listen. Because they are phenomenal. I
think that goes without saying.
Yeah, but obviously they are fucking incredible. Like, the work they do is second to none. The amount of time and effort they put into their podcast is just ridiculous. The stories they cover are phenomenal.
Yeah, Marcus Parks is a hero, isn't he?
Absolute god. Yeah. Podcast god. Also, though, I have just started listening to a new podcast.
Before you move on.
Go.
If anybody listening is going to the Edinburgh show...
Yes, give us a shout!
Do hit us up. If you're going to the Edinburgh show, it's on the 7th of September this year.
We'll be the ones wearing head-to-toe Twisted Britain merch.
Yeah. We are not walking adverts, honest. If you are going, give us a shout. We'll meet you for a beer beforehand, quite happily.
Yes, so keen, yes. That'd be so cool.
We'll have a blether about rubbish and then see how far away we're sitting from each other inside, and then a beer afterwards. Why not?
Maybe have a small fangirl moment. Oh my god, we're going to see the Last Podcast.
Yeah, we can do that.
Nice.
I'll have a fangirl moment. That's fine.
Me too.
Sorry.
No. Another podcast I've just started listening to is a follow-up podcast by the same people that made Dr. Death. It is called Over My Dead Body. And it's the first season. I think it's 8 episodes, maybe 10 tops. Can't remember. But I'm almost finished with it now. And it's just so good. Very well made. Very interesting story. Give it a listen if you haven't done before.
Well, if we're shouting out podcasts, I will do another one. So, as part of my research, I like to do my readings and stuff like that, and then listen to other people's takes on it if there are other podcasts about the crimes we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So, one I found that I love their artwork. I think you'll love it as well. I'll show you in a second.
Give me a show.
It's called True North, Strange and Weird. And basically, they cover true crime, folklore, conspiracy stuffs from Canada.
Ooh.
And obviously the reason I listened to this is because Dr. Cream spent some time in Canada, nice. Did his study in Canada and stuff like that. So it was one I don't think I would have ever found if I hadn't covered this case.
Right, okay.
But they're great. The women that present it now, I've forgotten their names, and I know that's really terrible. But we'll put a link to their podcast up anyway.
Yeah.
And like I say, their artwork is incredible.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's really cool, actually.
Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We have enjoyed this evening, as always.
You can find us across social media.
You can find us on Facebook.
Twisted Britain.
You can find us on Twitter.
Twisted Britain.
You can find us on Instagram.
Twisted Britain.
And if you would like to join our discussion group, we've had quite a few new people joining us recently.
We have.
Always lovely to hear from you. We will do our best to respond as us. If any time you get a response from Twisted Britain, it's because we've not clicked the button to make us us.
Also, we're just shit at technology.
Yeah.
And that can be found at Twisted Britain discussion group.
Yeah. I thought you said our shitness at technology can be found at the discussion group.
No.
Since we have some now, let's give a quick shout out to our new patrons.
Hello.
Thank you very much. It means a lot to us. I would like to give a shout out to Eve R.
Shout out to Trisha I.
Trisha, thank you. And a shout out to Sticky Sounds Zine, which will share their page, Facebook or...
I don't think I could find a Facebook when I looked, but we'll share what we can find of you. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, guys, for donating. It's very kind of you.
Mm-hmm. And a big shout out and thanks to Kelly J as well.
Kelly.
And thanks just to anybody for listening and for supporting us in whatever manner. We're very, very humbled.
If you could find it in your heart and in your pocket to donate to our Patreon, we'd be much appreciated. We promise not to use it for our bar tabs. We will always pay them out of our pocket.
Always. Or out of Bob's.
Well, mainly mine. But sadly, Twisted Britain cost us some money to host, and we would love it if we could continue to do this forever. And the best way for us to continue to do it forever is...
just to cover like the kind of basic fees and stuff, really.
Yeah. So we have our Patreon at patreon.com/Twisted Britain. You'll find a link on all of our social media channels for it. We have several tiers there that you can donate everything from $1 a month right up to $10 a month, which we would just be over the moon at. For each of the levels, we have different things that we offer in return. Obviously, we're not asking for your money for nothing.
Yep.
We hate asking for your money in the first place.
Yes, we do. We're both sitting here wringing our hands and looking nervous and awkward.
As of when this episode goes out,
yes,
the first Patreon-only episode should hit about the same time.
Yes.
Roughly the same time. The reason it's not hitting earlier in the month is because I'm off on holiday, but we will...
Holiday, he's hiking up to bloody Everest Base Camp, which to him he might call a holiday. To me that sounds laborious as fuck.
That's a holiday to me, and I've got enough podcasts downloaded that I'll enjoy my time, don't you worry. So yeah, the first Patreon episode will hit the feed middle of April, and then from then on we will make sure that there's an episode for Patreon only people that will hit round about the 15th of the month every month.
Yeah.
We have had a chat between us about what we're going to do for the Patreon episodes. We've got a couple of ideas, but they'll be different.
Yes.
To our standard ones.
Yes, yeah.
And we'll be asking for your suggestions and input to go alongside that. So they'll be different from our normal ramblings, shall we say. Other than that, you can find us everywhere you find a normal podcast.
Yep.
Please do subscribe. Any ratings and reviews are always highly appreciated. I
think that's us.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Oh, twistedbritain.co.uk.
Oh.
You can find us there too.
Goodbye.